Previously on Wizards of Waverly Place. I'm never going to learn any of these characters' names. I will have commentary on it that will be the commentary of an adult. It's going to get weird. Episode 13 starts out with Selena Gomez's twink brother getting a letter in the mail inviting him to a summer boarding school that is definitely not called Hogwarts, for him to learn magical skills and hone his abilities and learn how to control them. So he's really excited to go to definitely not called Hogwarts, and he's talking to Selena Gomez about it, and then his dad and mom overhear it, and it's like, wait, here they learn how to control their magical powers and use them responsibly. Maybe Selena Gomez should go there too. So somehow they just decide that she's going to go to Hogwarts, even though apparently Selena Gomez's twink brother had to do a whole application process and get admitted. They just, like with a snap of their fingers, get her admitted also. So she goes off to Hogwarts. And meanwhile, the little brother then becomes effectively an only child for the summer. And the Hogwarts program is only for the summer. So he's kind of chomping at the bit, like, "Ooh, I've never been an only child before. Let's do all the sorts of things you've never had time to do with me." And the first thing that comes to his mind is camping. Who likes camping? Camping's horrible. Why would you want to do that? But apparently he wants to go camping and has never done it before. And Selena Gomez's mom is like, "Oh, come on, you couldn't go camping. You live in New York City. You're city boys, you and your dad." And so they take this as a question of their masculinity. Again, Disney Channel in the aughts, reinforcing outdated gender roles. But so they take it as a challenge, and they make this bet with Selena Gomez's mom, saying like, "Yeah, well, I bet we could go camping on the terrace that's connected to their apartment. I bet we could go camping for 3 days." And they're like, "You're on." And so they make this bet that Selena Gomez's twink brother and Selena Gomez's little brother and Selena Gomez's dad will go camping on the terrace for 3 days and not go inside for any reason. Anyway, so they do that, and it starts raining, and they feel really inconvenienced. I don't understand. There was no part in the bet about how Selena Gomez's little brother can't use magic, so they probably could have like made the terrace bigger or like had tents or made it not the ring not hit them. I don't know. Selena Gomez's dad knows the spells, and Selena Gomez's little brother is able to do the spells, theoretically. So I don't know why they didn't do that. But anyway, that's what happens there. Meanwhile, Selena Gomez and her twink brother end up going to Hogwarts. So this raises some questions about copyright and trademark law. So legally required disclosure. Trademark and copyright law are not areas of law that I have ever practiced, and I am not qualified to provide advice, and none of this constitutes legal advice. With that being said, let's talk about the trademark and copyright implications of their stint at Hogwarts. So first of all, let's explain the difference between trademark law and copyright law. So reading straight from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, trademark is a word, phrase, design, or a combination that identifies your goods or services, distinguishes them from the goods or services of others, and indicates the source of your goods or services. Copyright is artistic, literary, or intellectually created works, such as novels, music, movies, software code, photographs, and paintings that are original and exist in a tangible medium, such as paper, canvas, film, or digital format. So let's start with trademark. So when Selena Gomez and her twink brother go to Hogwarts, first of all, they have these uniforms that are basically straight up taken out of Harry Potter. It's a robe with the white collar and the tie with the stripes. It has a logo that is different from the Hogwarts logo, but like barely. And part of the required costume is Harry Potter glasses, like literally even more Harry Potter than these glasses. It's intentionally comical. But they also the building is clearly modeled after Hogwarts. They do some shots from above of the castle where this definitely not Hogwarts school is, and it looks basically exactly like Hogwarts. So Disney definitely brought in their intellectual property lawyers to tell them when they went too far. They went right up to the line. But there's a doctrine in trademark law about trademark parody. So there's a multi-factor test that determines whether or not it's okay. Basically, this probably is okay as a parody of Harry Potter, as commentary or criticism of it. And one of the factors also is the likelihood of confusion. So if you are using trademarked materials in a way that would result in someone being confused and thinking that it actually is that thing. So like if they were selling these robes and ties with the definitely not Hogwarts logo on them and trying to pass them off as Harry Potter related paraphernalia, that would probably be a violation, but they probably weren't doing that. So they're putting their toe right up to the line, looking just like Harry Potter outfits, looking just like Hogwarts, but it's probably okay. Um, but then there's the issue of copyright. So they go to this wizard school that's a boarding school where they stay. They wear these outfits. They have wizard classes where they learn all these spells. Their professor, the headmaster, is basically just Professor Dumbledore. He has the beard. He has a wacky personality, the hat, everything. They call him Professor Crumbs rather than Professor Dumbledore, but he's basically Dumbledore. And they have a sport with multiple players that has confusing rules and a bunch of balls. They call it 12 ball. It's basically ping pong with a 5-sided table and 12 balls, and they hit them back and forth, and the rules are extremely confusing. But it's clearly modeled after Quidditch. And so one funny detail that they put in about 12 ball is if you hit the tattler with the ball, literally it's a little girl who goes up to a teacher and tattles, but it's clearly a pun on the snitch from Quidditch. But if you hit the tattler with the ball, you automatically win. So like this is clearly taking from Harry Potter. But in copyright law, there's what's called the fair use doctrine, and it looks at several factors in the statute. The statute is 17 USC section 107. Factors that they look at are it's protected by fair use if it's a criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research. It's generally not an infringement of copyright. And they look at a few factors, including the purpose and character of the use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole, and the effect of the use upon a potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. So, I mean, it probably is enough of a parody and is making fun of Harry Potter and is not trying to harm the Harry Potter brand or replace it. It's mostly a fun-loving parody of Harry Potter. So, they brought in their lawyers to bring it up right to the line, but they probably didn't cross the line. Anywho, so there's this professor there called Professor Evelini, and her name is literally Evelini. She's trying to steal the powers of wizards from the school by having a 12-ball championship. And there's some line in there. Wait, let me find the quote. It has been written that great 12-ball players have become great wizards. What? This game is basically ping pong, but somehow it has a strong correlation with becoming great wizards. But she's trying to determine who the best wizard in the school is so that she can take that person's powers. And it's mentioned multiple times in this episode and the next episode that she has done this multiple times. She does this regularly. Selena Gomez's twink brother ends up being very, very good at 12 ball, to the point where, he is in the running to be the best 12 ball player in the school. And he has this rival in it called Jerko Phoenix, which is clearly a play on Draco Malfoy. But they've said, well, Jerko Phoenix is the best in the school. He's done better than anybody ever. He's the only one to make it with 11 balls before. And that raises a question for me. Well, if he's so good and he's been doing this for a long time and has been established as really good, why hasn't she taken his powers yet? Like, why hasn't anybody learned, this guy had his powers taken by Dr. Evelini? But I don't know. That's an aside. I told you before episode 1 that this would get really weird. I feel like it has gotten really weird. But let's move on to episode 14, which is part 2 of their trip to Hogwarts. The show usually follows the sitcom convention where episodes are independent of each other. You can watch them in any order and not really get that confused. And you can just pick up and take off whenever you want. That's generally the convention of sitcoms, but episode 14 breaks that. So episodes 13 and 14 are part 1 and part 2 of the trip that Selena Gomez and her twink brother take to Hogwarts. So it picks up where episode 13 left off. Dr. Evelini is trying to make Selena Gomez's twink brother into a champion 12-ball player so that she can steal his powers. Well, so Selena Gomez finds out about this plan because there's a talking fish who's like, so Dr. Evelini sends a talking fish as a message to her mother. It's like owls in Harry Potter. She sends a talking fish instead of an owl. But this talking fish explains, hey, my plan is almost complete. I'm going to take them to the, what is it called? I'm going to take them to the Lava Land to steal the best 12-ball player's power. And Selena Gomez hears this and is like, oh shit, I have to go warn my twink brother. This is one of those episodes where Selena Gomez is unambiguously benevolent in this episode, and nobody takes her seriously for being benevolent. But she goes and tells her twink brother about this, and he's like, oh, Selena Gomez, you're just jealous. I don't believe you. I think you're making this up. Why can't you just accept that I'm good at this and you don't fit in here at Hogwarts? So she figures out, well, you know what? I'm going to have to come up with some other plan to get my twink brother out of this. Meanwhile, back at Waverly Place, Selena Gomez's little brother is on an adventure with his parents. So they have a a competitor who's advertising right outside their building. So again, Selena Gomez's parents run a sandwich shop, and there's a competitor like down the street who has a salad shop, and they send a person in a salad costume to advertise right outside their business and say, "Hey, sandwiches are terrible for you. You should come to our place and buy a salad." Which, like, that seems like there are problems with that. But instead of using other adequate legal remedies, like, I don't know, talking to your landlord and complaining about the fact that there's this person advertising against you right outside the building, the landlord probably has an interest in that and would have some way to prevent that from continuing, or suing them for some sort of tort, like, I don't know, tortious interference with a business relationship, some sort of thing like that. Uh, or, report it to the authorities and say, hey, this is somebody like protesting without a permit. There has to be some sort of remedy other than what they decide to do. But what they decide to do is they decide to put Selena Gomez's little brother in a sandwich costume, and go and like cause a feud with this salad person. So he goes out in a sandwich costume and like openly is arguing and yelling at this salad person in the street, which you think would not drive business to their shop. You think it would like drive people away, because why are these people in a sandwich costume and a salad costume yelling at each other right outside the sandwich shop? I'm probably going to avoid this area and go to some other business. But they decide that that's what they should do instead of, using one of the other available remedies. So little brother develops this feud, and he learns that she, the woman in the salad costume, has done this to multiple other businesses. There's like a hot dog business and some other kind of business that she's done this to. And so what he ends up doing is he goes and talks to those people in their costumes. They're like, hey, this horrible person in the salad costume is now targeting us. You want to come and gang up on her with me? So that's what they do. They end up bringing all of the costumed people together, and everybody gangs up on the person in the salad costume. But I guess that eventually works, and there are no consequences. Like, no police show up to stop the fighting in the streets. But that's the side plot that Selena Gomez's little brother has. But meanwhile, so back to the episode with Selena Gomez and her twink brother and Dr. Evilini. So Selena Gomez's twink brother is getting really good at this, and Selena Gomez goes to him and is like, hey, you have to believe me. He refuses. So what she ends up doing is she ends up traveling to Lava Land, and she uses this clever trick. She sends herself in the magic mail. So there's magic mail. There's like a key that you put into the air and you turn it, and it creates a portal that sends mail. Well, all mail goes through Dr. Evilini's office, but she has a friend whose name is Hugh Mungus. He's a giant, but he's the smallest of the giants. He's normal size. But he works in Dr. Evilini's office in the mail processing room. And he's like, hey, Selena Gomez, you know what? If you want to send yourself by mail, I will just sign off on it, and Dr. Evilini never needs to know. So she sends herself through mail to Lava Land, and she goes and talks to the front desk person at Lava Land. I don't know if that person has a title. It's the same adult who is the adult in all situations in this show. So she's she has every single job in the Muggle world, the magical world, and the Muggle world. Honestly, she's just the all around adult authority figure who's silly. But anywho, Selena Gomez talks to her and confirms, oh yeah, at Lava Land, most people here are just tourists to go look at the volcano and stuff. But people who go to the, wait for it, what's it called? The draining section at Lava Land, most of the people who go to the draining section are going there to steal the power of other wizards. And guess what? Dr. Evilini has a season pass to the draining section. So Selena Gomez is like, well, okay, I can tell my twink brother about this. He won't believe me. But he always believes people in uniforms because he's like a stickler for the rules. So he says, you know what, front desk lady at Lava Land, will you come with me back to Hogwarts and explain to my twink brother that this is going to happen? So front desk lady agrees, and she comes back to Hogwarts. I gotta get back to Hogwarts. And she explains to Selena Gomez's twink brother this whole situation. He's like, oh shit, I'm going to have to drop out of this. But then Dr. Evilini comes along, and she uses a no quitting spell, which prohibits Selena Gomez's twink brother from quitting the competition. Probably would have been easier if Selena Gomez's twink brother had just used a truth-telling spell on her, on Selena Gomez, to make sure that she was telling the truth earlier. But you know what? These kids, they never do the right thing. But so eventually, he ends up having to compete in the 12-ball championship, and he ends up winning against Jerko Phoenix. And it's a 5-sided table, and I think that there are supposed to be 5 players in 12-ball, but the final is just 2 people, and they like rotate around the table in no particular pattern. It doesn't make sense to me. The rules are complex, but yeah. So he beats Jerko Phoenix in the competition, and then Selena Gomez decides. Well, she's sitting there in the stands, like, "Come on, twink brother, lose." and her parents are disgusted because they are there to watch him win. They're like, "What are you doing? Why aren't you supporting your twink brother?" She's like, "Well, it's going to be they're going to take his powers away from him." But she couldn't find any way to rig the game or get her twink brother to quit. My suggestion is she could have gotten the Tattler to come and convinced the Tattler to cheat by having Jerko Phoenix hit the Tattler. But anyway, that didn't happen. But so what Selena Gomez ends up doing is using a truth-telling spell on Dr. Evilini. So Dr. Evilini ends up saying, like after the match is over, "I'm going to take him to Lava Land and I'm going to steal his powers," in front of the whole crowd. And they're like, "No, you're not." So that's how that ends. They end up stopping her because she said out loud that she was going to steal powers. And that's basically how the Hogwarts situation ends. They all go home. They went back to Hogwarts, and then they have to go home afterward because you have to go back to the Dursleys every summer in order to keep the charm alive.